Hi everyone. So finally, most of the people I suppose gathered here. So this lecture is organized by the Higher School of Economics, namely Graduate School of Urban Studies and Planning, the American Embassy, and a company called Hagidatum. But I also would like to thank Deputy Attaché for Culture, Wendy Halls. Thank you. And I would like to introduce you Dr. John Gilderblum, who is a professor in the graduate program in Urban and Public Affairs at the University of Louisville. He's also a director of the Center of Sustainable Urban Neighborhoods, and he was recently ranked one of the top 100 urban thinkers in the world. He'll give us a talk on the 10 Commandments of Urban Regeneration, and I would like to pass you the microphone. You're going to use this one, or?
I'll use this one, and then I'll use the clicker. Where's the clicker? Oh, there it is. There it is. Hi, I want to come on in, sit down. Yeah, please. I do want to thank Wendy. Wendy and I have a connection. We both went to the same school, which is actually ranked #2 in the nation. This is for Santa Barbara, University of California at Santa Barbara. It's on the beach. We highly recommend that you go there. We both went to school there, and she didn't look at my resume when you folks voted for me to come here to this place. She didn't look at my resume. She looked at one thing. She said, University of California, Santa Barbara, and she goes, that's who I want to recommend to go. That is a gaucho. And the other thing is, since Wendy is here, I want to let you know that I'm dressed up as the gauchos are Argentinian cowboys. So I'm trying to get that sort of Latin, South American look for you in honor of Wendy. So she knows it all. But I do want to thank you, your school, your department, your dean, for picking me. You picked me, right? You picked me, right? You said, I want Gilderblum, the legendary Gilderblum. That's what you told me, right? And I was just like, wow. You know, I mean, there were so many other really good people that you could have gotten, and so on. But you picked me, and so that's been great. And the hospitality and the kindness and the joy, the love, your city, and so on. And when I got here a week ago, I knew very little about Russian and everything. And so this lecture is sort of special. It's for you folks. It's about ideas about how to make cities great around the world. And some ideas I have for you folks as well, which I think you'll really like. And it's really special. It's my love note to you, to Russia with love. And so here we go. And a lot of this is based on books. I've written 5 books and so on. One is called The Invisible City. Do you want to turn down the lights? Would that be better? Should we turn down the lights? Turn down the lights, light the candles, get the music rolling. Yeah, see, the pictures are so much better this way. Okay, and the next book is Promise and Betrayal, Universities in the Battle for Sustainable Urban Neighborhoods. This is a story about you folks, about how to make neighborhoods and cities better. And university being the 4th foot, or the 4th leg of the table in terms of working with government, developers, and community activists, the 4th, and providing information and ideas and dreams for all of you folks. It's a terrific book and everything like that. And the other one is Rethinking Rental Housing, and so on. And the reason I bring this up is, I'll go back on that just a second here. Am I going back? I'm going back here. Is that I want to emphasize to you that we're talking about urban science. Urban science is not an ideology. It is science. It's not Marxism. It's not supply and demand. It's like simple science. And we base a lot of this is based on a city called Louisville, Kentucky, where we look at 198 neighborhoods, and we see where the treatment is occurring, where it's not occurring. You know, where, and by that we mean we can compare cities by the kind of neighborhoods that exist and the quality, the number of trees, the number of slow streets, the number of toxic waste dumps, good schools and parks and so on. And then we have another card that we like to play, which is based on the famous Molich and Applebaum work of 148 cities, mid-size, comparing them to about sort of policies they enact, labeling them and looking at that. So we very much look at science, not ideology. And we say, what does it say when we make certain decisions about the school and cities? And the other question that I'm trying to do is, from this, from 35 years of studying cities and getting millions of dollars in research grants from the federal government, from HUD, Environmental Protection Agency, private businesses and groups as well, we've learned that there's a science there to say to a developer or someone who wants to build a city or build a neighborhood of what works. And I start with another influence, which is Mark Twain. Mark Twain had a great philosophy. He hoped to die in Kentucky, he said, because he once said, I hope to die in Kentucky because everything happens there 20 years later. So the truth of the fact is, though, is that people don't live 20 years longer in Kentucky. And the sad thing is they live 10 years less because of all the pollution and bad diets and smoking and so on. And I want to also always be grateful to the work of Jane Jacobs. How many here have heard of Jane Jacobs? The great, The Life and Death of Great American Cities. Harvey Molich, Richard Applebaum, Andres Duaney, Elizabeth Platter-Zeiderbeck, Richard Florida, Jeff Speck, Robert Goodman, Greg Squires, and my graduate students, Billy Riggs, Joshua Ambrosius, Chad Frederick, Stella Chopik, Wesley Mears, Matt Henke, Steve Rosa, who's back there, give a hand up and so on, become a very successful businessman, and so on. Well, now the early science that came out about cities in the 1920s was this, and the prediction was, there it is, there's the red little thing, I don't know if that's coming up on the camera or not, but on this was that cities developed at the core of the downtown. And in the 1920s, it really did exist like that. Like this is Louisville's river and so on. And cities developed along rivers and ports along the sea. And as a result of that, you had a lot of development there and first ring suburbs and second ring suburbs and so on. And then what you found was in the 1920s, the 1930s, the 1940s, and 1950s, there's these rings, it's called concentric zone rings, the Burgess concentric zone rings. And it said that you had the downtown business area, and then you had what's called the zone of transition, and very poor people living there because landlords were getting ready to expand, get rid of their property, and the land was more valuable than the housing on it, so they would abandon it. It was a theory of abandonment. And then the first ring suburbs and so on. And then you got out here, and this is where the richest people live. They could commute out, get away from the city, get away from the smog, the dirt, and so on. And this is really cool. And it sort of works, not a bad fit, but in American cities, this is pretty much how it works. And our research, though, showed that over the past 20 years, cities have, this whole theory has been turned upside down. And in fact, it's the rich who are now moving downtown. This is the highest increases in rents right here. And the lowest increases in housing prices are out here in the suburbs because of driving costs, energy costs, and people wanting to live near downtown and safe to live there and so on. Now, I'm going to tell you, first of all, this is not true in Moscow. You know, you still don't have a lot of, but I believe it's going to happen with the market opening up. You're going to have a lot of people wanting to move as close to downtown, to the arts district, to the restaurants, universities, and so on. And climate warming is another important issue. There's three theories about urban growth and decline. One is the supply and demand side of capitalism. Another one is Marxist theory. And the third one is the emerging threat of climate warming, where we're all in the same boat right now together. Climate warming is the greatest threat to our entire civilization. Some predict this will be just like the dinosaurs dying and being extinct this could happen to our very climate and world that we live in if we don't straighten out our act and reduce the carbon footprint of too much driving, too much wasted energy, and doing something. And I want to talk a little bit about that as well. And it's my belief that it's our cities that can save us, and it's our suburbs and that are going to kill us if we keep driving the way we do. So what are the 10 Commandments? They left out one important commandment, I believe, when Moses was writing this, and that was stewardship over the earth. I'm not sure why the Adamon, calling out and saying, you will not eat pork and you will not clean your pig became one of the 10 Commandments. But I think this is a far better commandment for us, is stewardship of the earth, taking care of our precious Mother Earth, loving it, not polluting it, and understanding how fragile it is and what we face in the future. We've already seen flooding in Bangladesh. It's killed thousands of people. Tsunamis in Hawaii, in Thailand, killing another tens and tens of thousands of people. We've seen what happened in New Orleans with the great flooding and so on. We saw what happened in New York when New York was shut down as a city. Florida, according to our former Vice President Al Gore, half of that Florida state was almost flooded. When he predicts that in 10 years, the down part of where Miami is going to be flooded. So Commandment 1, and I'm going to go through this rather quickly because I want to get to some really cool things. The greenest house, the best house in terms of reducing your energy output is taking an old house and recycling it. I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. And this is a little bit about where I live in good old Louisville, Kentucky, where we've won several awards in our preservation research, old storefronts and so on. Some similar to what you'd see in the beautiful town of Samara and so forth. And this is where I currently live. It's called Old Louisville. It was built 110 years ago. And like you and me, your grandparents actually lived in housing without electricity, without bathrooms in the houses, without TVs, without radios. Toilets were outside, as I mentioned. There was no such thing even as toilet paper at the time. It was a pretty tough time. There was no cars and so on. And so they had to live in a compact area where they would walk constantly, where they would be riding their bikes at the most. But until the car was introduced in mass production in 1910, 1915, 100 years ago, we were largely a closed-in neighborhoods, and we lived together closely so we could walk and everything like that, and we were healthier. Not like today in America where so many people are obese. It's a beautiful picture of this housing, and this housing was left abandoned. It's the point that I'm trying to make, is we need to recycle housing. I'm going to say that over and over again. Recycle the housing. There's more. Queen Anne's, French, Italianate, English style housing, federal style housing. And here's an example that in America they waste so much space. There's so much available space in terms of the basement and the attic. And here's a great example of what's going on there. This is the attic before. It was just there. And like I said, this is a great opportunity for space. And with the current technology we have about insulation, someone's trying to get in back there and she's waving to me. Hi, we're going to let you in just a second. Back there. Hello. Let's let her in. Let her in. She's knocking. She's knocking on the door. Someone's knocking on the door. I know. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. These people are from the Italian embassy. I met them last night. They're thrilled to come in. Okay. Come on in. Hopefully that'll be cut out of the YouTube video. Thank you for have a seat. Have a seat. This is brilliant. Okay. Anyway, so this is a before shot, and this is after. Right there. We turned that space into good housing that would easily run. And we used modern technology, and everything is recycled, bamboo floors and things like that. And I want to show you something here. You would think that an attic can be converted, but with fans and with these, what we call these beautiful lights that are right on the roof, okay? That gives an example of how to heat the house during the winter when it's really cold, and then during the summer the trees grow, and they cover the house so it doesn't get too hot. And then also we do air filtration where we take the hot air and push it out of the house and so on. Really nice. And this is another example. One of my students did the same thing, cleared out the attic, and she actually, her name's Cynthia Cook, a good role model for you women. She learned electrical, she learned plumbing, and she's become a millionaire converting these houses into this. Very nice. This is the basement conversion, an old basement. I understand you've got some nice basements here. Turn it into housing. Turn it to good housing. And that's another one using block glass, so on. We are in beautiful, how many of you have ever been to beautiful Samara? Anyone been to beautiful, it's in Russia. Anyone ever heard of the city? Samara, Samara. Okay, anyway, this is the house of wooden houses. This is the city of wooden houses. And we were just there 2 days ago. It was fabulous. You know, we were saying, you know, why do we want to go there? And they welcomed us with open arms. There was we spoke in a huge auditorium, hundreds of people there, waving their hands and everything like that. Everyone wanted to do a selfie with me, and autographs, and it was great, great, great love. And I've already been offered a position there to teach there, so I'm considering it, and so on. But it was a lot of fun and everything like that. But this is what really excited me, was Russians on their own, without an architect, without a planner, putting together these funky houses. You know, it goes against these, the Khrushchev houses and the later houses and so on. And these funky little houses. And I thought this was really cool. And I wanted to tease you with this and open your mind. Have any of you ever thought of like renovating a house and fixing it up and making it really cool and putting your own name and stamp on it, your own human footprint on it? Okay, instead of that French guy, Le Corbusier, who you're forced to read and study. Ugh. Okay, look at that. Looks like a Peru. This is inside the house. Another example. He just recycles everything. It's just really cool. Look at this, a painted lady. It's the first painted lady. We're actually writing a book on the painted lady. This is going to be slide number 1 on it. Just making colorful statements, like in making art. It's kind of like street art and so on. It's so beautiful. It's so cool. Historic neighborhoods, you know, preserving. It provides a tourist destination. People will want to come there because they love to see the history of how grandma and granddad lived and how great grandma lived and so on before the revolution and so on. They want to see it, they want to feel it, they want to touch it. And it's a great recycled house. The second commandment is clean up your toxic waste sites. I can't tell you the danger. We know that in China, here we go, Igor, that China has a huge pollution problem because they don't regulate the pollution, which is killing people. They estimate, according to Lancet, the top medical journal in the world, 3.5 million people prematurely die in China right now, or in India, okay? And the reason for that is they're polluting the land, the water, and the air. And it's terrible. It's a terrible situation. Something needs to be done about it. So, and then they predict that that it's the number 2 cause of death, and it's in 10 years it's going to go up to $7.5 million people prematurely dying. So we thought we'd do our own little study about what's going on in the United States. Is there a difference? Do we pollute the air and so on? And what are we doing about greenhouse gases? Well, it turns out we are one of the largest polluters, Louisville, of greenhouse gases, bar none. And there's a big cover up in the city of Louisville by the mayor. And but statistically, because I'm a statistical whiz, been able to show the following. Yes, culture matters. How much you exercise matters. Sure, but if you don't exercise, then what you eat matters. And if you eat bad food, something fried, something chocolate, something sweet all the time. In other words, you can't just eat sweet stuff. Okay. But that's half the story, and that's what the mayor wanted, you know, folks in Louisville to know. The reason why you're dying prematurely is because you're not exercising or eating the right foods. But in fact, half the reason why we calculate using regression analysis, statistical analysis in Hunter, is that it has to do with these toxic factories that emit toxic waste sites. And if you live near this neighborhood, you're going to die 10 years earlier. I'm going to repeat that again. If you live in this neighborhood, you will die 10 years earlier. And people who work there die 10 years earlier. And it's a toxic soup. It's one of the worst polluting areas ever. And we've been able to do the science to prove that. It's terrible. It's really sad. I can tell you the state of Kentucky has the second highest premature death rate in the nation because we don't control our pollution. In fact, we're suing President Obama right now, saying we want more pollution because that means more jobs, and it's just simply not true. Regulation is a good thing. It protects people, it means more jobs, it means a longer lifestyle, and so on. This stuff is crazy. Chlorine, aluminum, and so on. And Louisville, depending on what neighborhood you live in, can really have an effect on you. 10 years of your life, if you live 7 miles this way or 15 kilometers this way, and you go this way, it's 15 kilometers, you're going to live 10 years more. But look at this sign here, and what's scary about this is warning, do not eat the fish caught in Chickasaw Lake. These fish are a potential health hazard as they may be contaminated. This is a temporary ban. Well, the ban's been in existence for 20 years. They can't, and the toxic waste just goes into the water and just is killing the fish. And they have these cancer, you know. They wonder, people keep on saying, in America we deal with cancer by being reactive rather than proactive. Reactive means, oh, okay, here's some pills, let's cut this out of yourself, let's cut this out, let's transplant this, and so on. Rather than being proactive, which is to say, let's get to the cause of why we have all these cancers, and so forth. Commandment, convert one-way streets to two-ways. One of the things that Moscow's doing, which is totally against what modern cities like Amsterdam, Paris, England is doing, Nice in southern France, Spain, and so on, in the direction, and in America, 100 cities are doing this, is converting, remember this, multi-lane one-way streets to two-way, slow down traffic. And my point here is we need to share the road for all types of users, walkers, bicyclists, skaters, wheelchair users, which is a big issue here, and I'll show you later on that as well. And one of the things we know, this is Cincinnati, Ohio, and it will not reduce your congestion. Do not buy this argument. It will not reduce congestion. Okay? But if you had more people riding bikes, that would reduce congestion. If you were allowed to or put out there the more bicycles out there, that would take more cars off the road. And it's deadly. This is a guy who rode his bike the wrong way on a one-way street, and he perished. He was trying to get some medical supplies. He was poor and died early. This officer was going to, and people get confused all the time driving in Louisville, Kentucky. They don't know what a one-way or two-way street is, and all of a sudden they're coming at you. And they smashed, and this is what happened to this officer. He lost his life trying to go to a robbery and so forth. Increased walkability and biking. All across Europe, people love to walk. You folks walk too, I've seen you. Walking to your subway stations and so on. But walkability is the new way of getting exercise and so on, and biking. One of the things on our tour today by the fine people of your university, led by the wonderful Sasha, who's here today. Sasha, raise your hand. Raise your hand. He's a cool guy. Is that you are doing some progressive things. And this is, for example, one of the things that allows the disabled to get out in their wheelchair and do that. And we need more of these ramps. And the reason that the Americans Disabilities Act was passed when George Bush was in office, his greatest accomplishment was we did a study for him in his hometown of Houston, Texas, when I was at the University of Houston, and showed that if we can make a house accessible, if we can make a city accessible, then that will cut down on medical costs and the need for attendants and so on to live, to take care of that person. They can live freely. And I can tell you from my heart, okay, ladies and gentlemen, my godfather was in a wheelchair from World War II when the United States and Russia got together and fought the Nazis. Thank you very much. Okay, but he was in a wheelchair. He became a great Hollywood writer, won Academy Awards, the movie Clue, very proud of him. Great guy, great inspiration, taught at Stanford University, but he learned to get around and it inspired me. And last year's my dad's life, he too was in a wheelchair. In fact, if you make it to age 80, there's a 25% chance you'll be in a wheelchair too, you'll be in a cane. You want to be locked up in what we call the invisible jail. Invisible jail is it doesn't have bars or guards, but you just can't get out and participate in civic life. And then the other thing we argued very smartly in a capitalist city or country was if the disabled can't get out of their homes, they can't buy things with all the money they have. And so if they can go out there and buy things and so on, it makes the economy and the local things happy. So that's one of the things we're talking about, which is really cool. And Moscow is terrible in the area of designing cities for disability. And here is the Moscow Times today, and I'll read that to you. Scandal highlights the plight of the disabled. And it talked about a woman who had multiple sclerosis, which is a degenerative nerve disease, and she didn't like this and everything like that. And they said to her, her mom, he said, hey, we don't want that person in this room, you know, this high-class hotel. She doesn't belong here. Get yourself fixed and get her out of here. Well, that would never happen in an American city, and it's a terrible thing. Because I'm telling you, if you care about your mom, you care about your dad, you care about grandma, or you care about yourself and your future, you want to have the access to the city, the right to the city. That's very important. And so I think in Moscow they're going to be doing more things to create more access. So we're not just talking about bicycles access, walking access, but wheelchairs. And I got to tell you, we know from studies done that I've done, 2,000 people in Houston, on average 6% of the population will need it. And if you add that up in terms of 12 million, 13 million Moscowites, there's 1 million people, nearly 1 million people, 854,000 people who are in wheelchairs or canes or walkers who need this kind of assistance. And it's a problem. And you probably want it for yourself. And this is something I discussed in some of my research that I've done in the best-selling Invisible City. Okay? Best-selling. But there's reasons for, but the biggest thing that's going on is bicycle riding. Everyone's into bicycle riding, and it's so good. More daily physical activity and better personal health. Reduce medical costs for everyone because you're healthier and you're riding your bike. Improve traffic safety. More livable neighborhoods. Better environment, reduced air, water, and things. Reduced greenhouse gases, global warming, improved accessibility, and so on. Taking cars out off the road and so on. In one parking space right out there, see that car right there? It's parked right there. You could put 12 bikes there. So if you're having a hard time looking for biking, you know, it's smart economics. One of the things we're talking about is neighborhood green economics, and it's something our great President Obama, is doing. Okay, doing wonderful things about trying to reduce our carbon footprint and make more livable cities. Now here's a gentleman I met today in Moscow, and I said, finally I found someone that rides a bike, and I said, how is it to ride a bike in Moscow? And he says, you don't do it on the streets here, it's too dangerous, you'll get killed. And he's right. The way these cars are going at 50 miles an hour, there's an 80% chance you'll get killed. You're like an egg rolling down the sidewalk in terms of that. We can slow down cars and make it more inviting for bicyclists. He says he only does it when on holidays and so on. He loves to do it on bikes. But I've asked this every talk I've given. How many of you, if you could, you young people, you young, beautiful people, I'm talking about you and you and you and you, okay? How many of you would like it if there was a dedicated bike lane? Dedicated bike lane with no cars, you know, going through it, use your own dedicated bike lane. Or two, how would you like it if the streets were actually blocked off? You know, they dedicate a street, like there's this right by the National Hotel. Right by it, there's a little mall there where cars are blocked off. How many of you would consider riding your bike to work or school during nice sunny days and so on? How many of you like that experience? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Is that it? You don't want to exercise? Okay. Well, I'll tell you something else. You'll have better health, you'll save more money, and I'll convince you to do this. Okay, we'll keep working on it. We got 4 people here who are interested in this. Skating. Skating is so cool, and I see the skateboards around here. Why don't we make our streets available for skaters? You know, that's another way to get to work. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's in Santa Monica, California, where we're from. Anyway, okay, here's some health reasons why you should ride a bike. Okay, so you're not interested. I mean, one is you won't pollute if you ride your bike. The other thing is, check this out. What is the #1 cause for why you die early? And some of you do it right now. Smoking. Smoking's going to kill you. Right there. There we are. Right there. Right there. Look at that. That's the biggest bar right there. Smoking will kill you. That's the #1 reason. But guess what? That's the next one is physical inactivity. Here's the point. Okay. Now you guys do a lot of walking. Okay. You're looking good. You do look good. You look fit and trim and everything like that. But 100 years ago, literally, there was no cars. And you had to walk to get the things. You had to walk to the walk or ride your bike, or sometimes take a horse-drawn carriage or something like that. Okay. But now we live in what's called the "I don't want to walk" club. And you drive everywhere. You drive to get your medicine. You drive to get your liquor. You drive there and there. You're not walking. And you know, we're not born to be just sitting all the time. You need to walk and be active and so on. So that's part of the thing. And a lot of the problems that we do have with hypertension, obesity, is due to the fact that we're not exercising, we're not walking around, we're not riding our bikes. And also there's an effect there too, and Wendy and I went to a school, and I can tell you 50 pounds ago, okay, I was 50 pounds less because I was riding my bike for 10 years. And the other thing is, okay, check this out, I was much healthier, never had to go to the hospital, we were just looking good, and so forth. So I'm going to tell you an economic reason, and I wanted to show this to you. Your brothers and sisters in Amsterdam, where you all want to go, right? Amsterdam, right? That's where people are now picking cities. It's an economic thing. Paris, Amsterdam, Denmark, New York, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, Chicago, all are into biking. You've seen the bikes out there. But look at where we are here. Whoops, what did I do? Okay, I did that. Amsterdam, way up there. Denmark, way up there. Finland, way up there. Sweden, Germany, all of them are doing programs to get cars. This is their transportation program. Get cars off the road and encourage biking. You get more access. Now, tomorrow I'm going to be in Amsterdam. I'll be riding my bike everywhere. I won't be in a car because I can get to the theater quicker, get to the restaurants quicker, and so on, get in trains and so on, reducing my carbon footprint. Right there is the USA. That has the smallest bar right there. Now you're probably saying, where's Russia? Progressive Russia, where everyone rides their bikes. Is it here? No. Is it here? No. Is it here? Oh my God, it's off the chart. It's over here. No one rides bikes here. And you know what? People don't want to come to Russia because of that very reason. They don't want to do a political act where they're polluting the air. You know, a lot of people say, how do we get more tourists here? How do we get more tourists here? People love to ride bikes. And I tell you, you'd be insane to go out there and ride a bike, okay? First thing I said, I saw those bikes, I thought, oh man, I can ride bikes. And of course my NBC people said, no, you can't, you'll get injured, you'll get killed, and so on. It'll be a big embarrassment, and the KGB will be blamed, and so on. And I said, okay, I won't ride a bike. Desire to drive. Well, here's the thing is, if gas prices go up, a lot of people are going to switch to biking and so on. A lot of people are going to go switch to biking. You folks might even do it too. But here's a really cool thing. If a dedicated bike lane, I asked you already, was there, okay, I've given you health reasons, I've given you economic reasons, so on and so on. 25% said, if you give me a bike lane, I would consider riding my bike and giving up my car or reducing the car usage. 25%, that's 1 out of every 4 people in this audience, which comes to about 10 people. Very cool. And then we took those 25% that lived in this community and we multiplied 7,603 cars times 8,000. And guess what stays in the community? $60 million is saved. Okay, there's a fancy chart. $60 million is saved. Follow me on this, okay? Roughly 20% of what an American makes, okay? And guess what? And here's a question I'm going to be asking you, number 2. If you could save 20% of your income, 1,000,000 rubles, okay? If you could save 1,000,000 rubles, what would you do with it? Well, this is what Americans said they would do with it if they could save money. 5% said they'd get a pet. 9% said they would support the local restaurants and eat out more. 11% said they would plant a garden, which I can get to later. Buy more books and music, very cool, 16%. Here's the one I like, improve my housing. 36% would invest in more housing. That's very cool. In other words, 12 out of the 16 responses were to improve the economy locally by spending money there, keeping the money there, keeping it circulated there. And of course, this is a group I took to Amsterdam, and they all loved it, and they changed their lives. How many of you would love to go to Amsterdam, ride bikes, listen to music, and see old houses and so on? How many of you like to go to Amsterdam? If I could give you $1 million, would you go? Yeah. Come on, show some. This is crazy. Where are the community gardens going on? This is America. This is America, okay? People are planting gardens all over trying to save on vegetables and so on. But no one seems to be doing this in Russia. I don't understand that. They said something about dust or something like that and so on. But throughout, there's all these places where people could do it. And we think that, you know, planting a garden creates greater community. People talk to each other. You get free food, great vegetables, and so on. And we have a black and white issue of horrible racism and segregation. In my neighborhood, I live near a black church, and blacks and whites talk and get together. So, beautiful. Commandment, encourage investment in downtown places. The future is downtown. Whether it's in America, there's been this wave of new investment in downtown neighborhoods. People are doing the environment, people are doing it because they want to walk, people are doing it because they want to be closer to, they don't like the commutes, hour. I talked to a number of students here that go to the school. Sasha here spends an hour and a half commuting. That's no way to live. An hour and a half commuting. You know, a lot of people are going to say, man, I can use that time for other things. And we talk about that, Americans, unfortunately, led by Spike Lee and other rappers and so on, think that gentrification is a bad thing. Investment in downtown neighborhoods is bad. Investment in black neighborhoods, investment in poor neighborhoods. It's actually a good thing. It creates more equity, creates more opportunity. Usually the housing that's built is new, it doesn't push. Chad Frederick, hello Chad, who's watching this right now in the USA, live streaming. Hello, Chad. We're finding that in 148 cities, when we look at cities that reduce traffic, the use of a car, and get people riding bikes, walking, using their wheelchair more, getting on transit, getting on trains, getting on buses, and so on, we're finding consistently that the air is better, the obesity rates is much less, housing prices are much higher, their nest egg in terms of their value of home, where I reported directly to Mr. Andrew Cohen. Hi Andrew, for watching this. Is he said, go find out what's going on with jobs. This is the single best investment government can make, is building housing. Creates more jobs than highway construction, bridges, factories, and so on. It's a winner. Oh, someone went before me. What are you doing? Okay. Take it easy, buddy. Easy. Okay, so here we go. 17 jobs created for every $1 million invested in historic preservation or in housing construction. Compare that to the five jobs created by highway construction. And 82% of the jobs is going to folks without high school diplomas, and half of those jobs are going to minorities. And they're good paying jobs. And even in my role, as a small mom and pop landlord, I know, for example, how many people I can support. Housing, you have litter in a neighborhood, if you have broken crime and so on and so forth, guess what? If you don't clean it up, it gets worse and worse. There it is, summarized. Broken windows theory. Fix the broken windows, get the graffiti off and so on, and get it going. All it does is deface a great neighborhood. I just threw that in because I think that's a funny thing, Louisville. But here, I'm saluting St. Petersburg. This is the Museum of Street Art. And how many of you have been to St. Petersburg for the Museum of Street Art? It's an amazing place. And you can look it up. It's called streetartmuseum.ru. Streetartmuseum.ru. Go to it, take your lover with you. It's a great time, and so on. But this is, let me just show you some of these pictures of this great street art, because the street art is expression, is political, which is trying to say, basically they're saying, don't go back to the old ways, go forward. And I know there's this whole thing about Russia goes 2 steps forward and 1 step back. It's kind of like the United States, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But this whole thing is about, don't look to the past, don't go back to the past, go to the future. And it's very powerful little commentary. And this just blows my mind. This is the largest mural in Russia. The largest mural in Russia, in St. Petersburg. And check this out. And what he's saying, what the artist is trying to say is, get out of the cage. Get the wire snappers and get out of the cage. And it's almost 3D because it looks like, this guy looks like Muhammad Ali, who's from Louisville, the great boxer. He's ready to get out of the cage, you know. And what the artist is saying, there's still more to do. There's still more freedom to explore and so on. And that's awesome. And this is another one in this huge museum of this great artist of schools. And there's a whole lot of things here about conformity. Anyone ever heard of Pink Floyd, The Wall? We don't need your education. We don't need. Anyone heard that song? Dun, 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 dun. We don't need your education. Anyway, this is put on what I've had to say here. No script, no advance, no nothing. You know, I'm just saying it all, and that's important. Universities are places of free ideas, free exchange of ideas, and so on. I even know in this relationship you've had conservative Republicans come and give their talk and so on. Now you have a fairly liberal, progressive Obama, Clinton guy who loves his, taking care of the poor. But freedom of expression is so important. And Richard Florida, I swear to God, I want to get here. Okay, I'm going to tell him what the last you folks are. And but he talked about the rise of the creative class, and he teaches that our greatest cities are those that are tolerant, have access to technology, great university, and this is where things are freely traded. And of course, by that, I'm talking about tolerance, anti-racism, but tolerance for other people's lifestyles, tolerance for other religions or non-religions, atheism, Protestant, Catholic, Muslim, Indian type things out in India, Buddhism, all that. We need to be tolerant of that, and then of course we must be tolerant of sexual lifestyles, and we must be hopeful. We can't control people. What they do in their private bedroom is their own deal, and so on. But one of the things that Richard Florida knew that was why did San Francisco become the powerhouse economic place of 35 states? It has more economic power than 35 states in the United States because it was a welcoming place. People from India, China, Russia, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, the smartest people, there's a brain drain. We already talked about when we got to here to, the newspaper, there's a brain drain. People are thinking about this. This is why you're in planning. You're always thinking about it. I got these ideas, man, I got to do it. That's all I talk to them. Well, this is what's really international expert right here. He's traveled with me. We can talk more about that too. Better health behavior and so on. Scientific proof evidences is very important, and that's where the university community partnerships can work. Al Gore just simply said, former vice president who was elected for 24 hours as president of the United States and then lost it to a rigged election. He said about, wrote about the inconvenient truth, and Max Weber, 100 years ago, the German sociologist, said, he talked about our role as academics is to have the backbone to use science to reveal inconvenient facts. In other words, we as academics have to say what is rather than what the powers that be want us to say. We got to speak out. So when someone interviewed me 2 days ago, and they insisted I was a Marxist for saying this. Does it sound like I'm a Marxist? I'm a Groucho Marxist, but not a Karl Marxist. Okay? I mean, Karl Marx is almost useless. He was good in the 1830s and 1840s describing why people were dying so quickly at the age of 29 and 30 because they're working 12-hour days. They were slaves to the capitalist class. They had no health care and so on. And capitalism rebounded. There was protest and there was effort and so on. And they rebounded and they basically said, hey, we've got a good deal going. We don't need all this money. And we need these workers to be healthy and safe. Otherwise, we're going to lose it all to something else. And they made reforms and so on. Karl Marx never predicted that. He said that the first revolution would be in America. And of course, you've had 50 years of Marxism. I don't think you need it. But we need you to tell the truth about what's working and what's not in our cities and going out and doing scientific research. Urban regeneration, going green, baby, is prosperity, safety, reduction of the carbon footprint, great integrated community of races and incomes, better health, less money to countries that hate us, such as in the Middle East and in Egypt and so on, where we buy our gas and oil. Greater neighborhood stability. People will live longer. People will love each other more. Paul Goodman, and we did this one for you, is to go, the great New York writer, 1959, said, and of course he wasn't a feminist obviously, he says, a man has only one life, and if during it he has no great environment, no community, he's been irreparably robbed of a human right. And that's the idea that you have the right not just to improve the workplace and then hope that from there, you have the right to improve your neighborhood, to improve your housing, to improve your streets, where how you reproduce yourself and how you live and how you exist in your community, in your neighborhood, and how you associate with each other. And talking about this thing. So, 1972, I was my first class in college. I took this class on history, world history. Truman Cross from Indiana University wrote his dissertation about why the Russian Revolution happened. Back there, and you get to see other people thinking about sustainability. Get a master's or PhD, and every student I worked with, where we published articles on, we've gotten them jobs in major universities around the world, including in China, the Netherlands, around the United States. And I tell you, being a professor is great. Look at the gig I got. I got to come and talk to you, and you paid for my food. Thank you very much. And these are the t-shirts we're giving out, but we just wanted to say thank you for that as well. And that's Steve Rose. We gave those last night. And it says, we got this. Let's start something up. And I give you my great graduate student who met a great, wonderful Russian woman from Russia, from Moscow. Married her. He's an American. She's a Russian. And together they make great, beautiful babies. And if we keep talking with each other, we'll make a great, more beautiful, more joyful, more loving, more sweet, more peaceful world for all of us. Thank you very much. Yeah! Yeah, last time early! Okay.
Actually, yeah, you got the loudest applause ever been here.
What?
You've got the loudest applause of all time here in this library, probably. So does anyone have any questions to...
Thank you very much for the lecture.
What's your name?
My name is Vasila.
Okay, the CIA wants to know your name. Okay.
My question is referred to statistics that you were showing about test results in schools that are so-called environmentally friendly and not. Are the differences statistically significant because the percentage was like 94 to 96, so it's actually not that much difference? Thank you.
Are the results statistically significant? The chances of me being wrong and the chances of 30 other people have done studies of this about people taking SAT scores, GRE scores, is less than 1%. The chances of me being wrong and all of science, it's like climate warming. It's undeniable. We are warming up our climate and so on, and 99.9% of scientists agree. So we're on that. Fight for better schools, bring more light, harvest it, make it cool and happening. So yes, it is. Next question. Next question. It's not a good talk if I don't get questions. People are asking me really tough questions. Help me out. Next. Yes. One up here. What's your name?
I'm Alexandra Burdiak. I'm from Institute for Social Analysis and Forecasting, and I came for the lecture on on measuring well-being in the cities. Would you tell us, please, about the first title of the lecture?
Well, living green, which means bicycles and walking, eating good fruit, eating well, having good social relations with people, having community, having coffee shops, neighborhoods, having music and so on, living the full life of a civilization means you're going to be happier. And there's these happy indexes, which well-being and so on. If you're healthy and so on, you're going to be much happier. So there's cities around the nation, in our country, for example, Portland and Berkeley and San Francisco, where it might be more expensive to live there, but people are much happier than, say, in Louisville when they know it's a death sentence and they're going to live 10 years less. Well-being, eat your fruit and vegetables. 2, exercise well. Go out there and do it every day, not just on the weekends at the health club. Get out there and walk. Enjoy it. Go to museums, walk around. Take care of your body. 3, stay away from polluting industries that are deadly and toxic, even if they've been closed down and it's seeping up, with toxic waste. Have them cleaned it up and do that. Marry, have a husband, have a wife, because people who are married live longer. It's a fact. I'm going to live a shorter life because, I lost my wife. And it's sad living by yourself. So those are 4 or 5 ideas. Anyone else want to give some ideas about living longer? Okay, you. Let's put you on the microphone. Is this still being recorded?
I think it was okay. My name is Lena, and I graduated from MIT, so I know something about American education, and I have a question about the socialism and the capitalism, and these questions are about the entertainment and sustainable development. Don't you think that these problems with pollution, for example in the US, are very strictly connected with capitalism by itself, and only rich cities and only rich people have right, it is so, they earned the right to live in the healthy environment. And poor people in the US are living in less healthy environment because they don't have money and they don't have possibility to move from polluted areas, and they are working in these factories and they are dying 10 years earlier, not the people who are living in Berkeley or in San Francisco.
You're exactly right. It's called environmental racism. I had a colleague I actually wrote with that coined the term environmental racism, where in Houston, where we did the disabled rights study, he went off and he says, you know, it tends to be that black people and poor people live in the most polluted areas in the country. And that's the way the market goes, and you have environmental degradation, another term that Harvey Malich, one of my mentors, talked about, and so on. So I don't think there's an argument here. I think it's, you're saying, yes, the rich white people get off easy, they don't live there. We have somebody, I have a house in the suburbs, okay, way out in the suburbs that I manage and so on. And it's a very nice house and it's away from all the pollution. And I met this guy and he says, he told me what he did, and he says, well, we're putting in a toxic waste site that they won't even allow in Sweden to be put in there. And he said, we tried to put it in Russia, they wouldn't allow us. And it's a big plastics factory, and it's out of Sweden. And but we found it in your community. And I said, well, what do you think about these arguments about heavy pollution? And he says, well, it's true. He says, that's why I want to live so far away, you know. And in his case, it was 15 miles away in this very beautiful house. But he says, it's killing us, and it's getting worse. And we've come to the point, I mean, how many of you enjoy seafood? Fish, crabs, lobsters?
We don't have.
No. Okay, so, but we're rapidly killing our oceans too with pollution. And we're overfishing and so on to the point where salmon, how many like salmon? Okay, well, anyway, the point is that we're poisoning our environment, both in the water, the land, and the air, so forth. So I agree with you. It's a terrible thing, and I am working on that fight. In fact, I'll make an advertisement right now to the good folks around the world. I'm editing a series with Prager Press. I just got appointed this to talk about and do a reader on environmental degradation and public health. And that's one of the things I'm working on. And we invite manuscripts from people all around the world, from Moscow to St. Petersburg, Samara, India, China, all over. And we're going to have a big conference in Hawaii, January 5th, to talk about it. So I don't think I'm answering your question. You're sort of shaking your head. So.
No, but I just wanted you to answer the question about the quality of entertainment and socialism and capitalism, because don't you think that now, after capitalism lead us to this quality of life and to these problems, don't you think that we are turning back to socialism and we are now talking about the right of everybody for health environment? Isn't it the reason why we need to reread Marx, reread socialists, because we are somehow returning back with all our rights, with Medicare, and so on and so on. And don't you think that capitalistic model a bit destroyed itself?
I got your point. Here's my point, though. There's more people dying in a communist country like China. It has the heaviest and worst pollution and the highest death rate than in capitalism. I can't even get my stuff published in the top journals here showing America has the same problem. They completely say, well, you know, we're going to upset these companies and so on. We don't want to do it. And that's right from the New England Journal of Medicine and a letter from one of the editors. He just said, this is too, I believe there's a problem here, and I'm trying to prove there's a problem. I'm trying to get the word out, you know, and fighting this kind of thin, narrow, bogus science and so on. But that was the promise of socialism, that people would be treated better at the poorest and things. But that's not true, say, for example, in Cuba, where blacks and women still are more oppressed in Cuba and Havana than in the United States. Blacks have less opportunities at the top. Women have less opportunities at the top, less positions, and so on. This has been done by studies been done over and over again. And again, my year and a half of living there, I would love it if socialism worked. You know, I believe that people should have the right to health care and the right to housing and the right to safety and the right to security and so on. But it doesn't work that way. And so in Cuba, it's an impoverished nation, absolutely impoverished people. And, you know, I mean, what shocked me was living with the Cubans, understanding that, you know, 29 out of 30 days people get an average of a quarter pound of meat for a family. A quarter pound of meat. And they were laughing at the Americans, the Europeans, who said, we're vegetarians, we just want to eat. They said, we're forced vegetarians, you know. And I think the capitalism offers you two rewards for doing that. Now, most of the people I've talked to have said, Russia is a better place today with private enterprise, a little bit more democracy, and less socialism. There's more freedom and so on. But let me ask that question. Are you better off today than 25 years ago when many of you are young and so on, but do you think you're better off today? Is this a better city? I mean, I just got a tour by this gentleman here who showed me the tremendous growth and building of all of Russia going on. They showed the old, Khrushchev buildings and so on, and then these beautiful skyrises are going up. It seems like a lot of investment opportunities going up and so on. Can I ask that? I mean, I need to know that too. I mean, do you think we're better? Is Russia a better place to live today than 25 years ago? What do you think? Yes, if you think yes.
Yes.
And how many say no? See? There we go. I'm just saying that pollution, but here's my point. Environmental degradation, pollution of water is a problem everywhere around the world. Because when that stuff goes up in the air, I mean, Louisville has the largest producer of greenhouse gases of any city in our country. We have a severe problem. And they argue, well, we don't need regulation, just like the Chinese do, because that'll hurt jobs, and the industries will go elsewhere. So we need to do a better job. Okay. Next, any other questions? Any clarifications? Okay. Oh, now we give out the T-shirts. Can we film that too? That's really cool. I have a couple of questions for you. And should I give out the booze first? We got booze from Kentucky. This is donated by Stephen Rosa, Dr. Stephen Rosa. And if you're really nice to him, he might give you an extra one or two if you're nice when he's leaving tomorrow morning at 10:30 from the Hotel National. Early times thing. Okay, we're going to do trivia questions. The first one is, what is the name of the school where Wendy and I went to school and where we got our undergraduate degrees? What is the name of the school that I went to?
It was on the beach.
What?
It was on the beach.
It was on the beach, okay.
Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara. Who said Santa Barbara?
Me.
There you go. On the beach, Santa Barbara. Okay. The winner, early times liquor. Okay, okay. Now I know. Come on, dude. Congratulations to it. This is a gift to the library. I think to you. This is a really cool book. This is a really cool movie that was done on Kentucky. And it's a story about my son's death from drugs. Don't take drugs. Don't drink. He got hooked. And very sad. I love him very much. And they did a movie which is partially based on his story. And it's about a rock and roll star, who actually dressed kind of like me too. And he was married, happily married, and he was starting off as a musician. Then he became very famous. And all these groupies and women wanted to be with him and so on, and got him into drugs and so on. He lost his wife, he lost his kids and so on. And the filming is all about in Kentucky, okay? But he dies, the rock and roll life, they filmed in my house, this place of decadence, red couches, and big art paintings and so on. And they picked my house. And then he also almost dies, he crawls to my bathroom. So it's filmed in my house. And you'll see actually a thank you from the film producers for using the house and everything like that. So we want to give this to the young lady, if you want to watch a film on Kentucky, good music and everything like that, as a gift. Thank you. She's the one that gave it to me. Okay. And then, oh yeah, here's a manuscript on the 10 things that make you can have this to the manuscript were 10 things that make happy lives. Okay, now for the t-shirts. What state was Abraham Lincoln, Wendy, you can't participate in this, okay? I know you want these t-shirts. What state was Abraham Lincoln born in?
Virginia.
Virginia. Wrong. You have 49 more choices. Is that right? We have 50 states? Virginia, yeah. Alaska and Hawaii didn't even exist, so you can eliminate those. Arizona didn't exist.
Starts with a K.
Abraham Lincoln, the great. Whoop, you said Kentucky?
No.
Oh.
Make a fried chicken.
I thought you said Kentucky. What do you have, a stomach problem or something? I thought you said Kentucky. Okay. Should we try another trivia? Okay. Name a famous baseball player from the San Francisco Giants. Okay, let's try this. Name the capital of Russia. Like that one. Who said it first? This guy really wants it. I gotta give it to him. Okay. Let me see, another Americana trivia. Give me a question, guys, back there. Where was Obama born? Where was President Obama born? It was in Africa, right? He was born in Nigeria, right? What state was Obama born in? What? What? What'd you say? Ohio? Virginia? Who loves Virginia? What? Kentucky, no. Where? No, not Illinois.
Hawaii.
Hawaii, there it is, there it is. Let's give a big planet applause. Because 1/4 of the country thinks he was born in Africa, so there you go. Is the tape still running? Come on, guys, give me a trivia question on America. Let me see. We'll do England. What's the best-selling band, rock and roll band, from the 1960s? Who said that? You already got one. Okay. Come on. Well, okay. Name a song that the Beatles did that was about the USSR. What? What'd you say? Who said it? Yeah. Well, it's kind of like a Bruce Springsteen song, but that's good enough. Okay. Finally, one more. Give me a trivia question. One more trivia question from Americana. Oh, what state was I born in? How's that? Who said Cal? Did you say California? Oh, there we go. Sorry. And then my famous backpack. Here we go. This is, I carry this all around, and who wants a backpack that I carry all around? No, not you. Anyone want a cool backpack? It's really good. Makes a good Christmas stuff. Okay, thank you very much. Well, that's it. Are there any more questions? Usually people ask me how tall I am. 2 meters, so that settles that. Do I play basketball? No. Do I like Russia? Yes. Russia. I didn't know anything about Russia, except for the movies and so on. They got politically correct in the Hollywood movies, and it used to be blacks were the bad guys, and then it was Hispanics are the bad people, and then they had to make white people bad, so they would take Russians or as bad people. So I was expecting much bigger people in Russia. In Russia, yeah. Arnold Schwarzenegger kept on playing in Russia. So.
You should come to Siberia.
What?
You should come to Siberia to make bigger people.
Come to Siberia. Okay.
In winter. And
In
then
winter.
ride bike.
And ride bikes. Okay.
Where have
Okay.
you been in Russia? Except
Well, I went to St. Petersburg, and that just blew me away. I think that's just the most beautiful city and so on. And I didn't know that.
You like it? Two of you that went? Yeah. They say it's the resort town. You've got such a long beach there along the river. Pretty nice place. You gotta go visit it sometimes. It's beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you for inviting me to this country. Thank you for the great honor, the love, the sweetness, and come to the University of Louisville. We'd like some cultural exchanges. Or if you got a daughter or son that's in high school and wants to go to high school for a year, send them to me. I'll take care of them. Okay. I have no children, nothing. So, I'd love to have that. Okay. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Oh, I got one more. Scientific American. I forgot why people between 20 and 30 make bad decisions about their life, like drugs.
too late for me.
Too late.
Too late for me.
So,
More than once.
that's cool. You, yes. Come on up here, Mark. Okay. So thank you. Are you from Siberia?
No, I'm not.
There you are. Thanks for your smile.
Thank you.
So was it good?
Small Kentucky.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
See, libraries, not as we know them. There we go.
Here, let me
And
get
then in my phone also.
let me get a picture too of her,
Okay.
so I can send this early time to Dan Schmicker.
Ah, demand.
Well-being. One part of well-being is not to drink, but.
My husband will ask me, where is it?